What's going on, guys? Aaron from Top Tier Gaming here, and today I'm going to be doing a little bit of a sort of discussion video on Burst of Destiny. It comes out really soon, I think in a couple of weeks from the time I'm recording this video. Maybe, yeah, I think about a couple of weeks. Yeah, Burst of Destiny is a set we've all kind of been waiting for because it introduces new archetypes that will at least have some sort of impact on the meta, whether they, take it by storm or just kind of fall in a good deck category. It's going to depend on the upcoming ban list, but Burst of Destiny as a set is amazing, and there's a lot of good cards, and there's a lot of stuff that you may want to be looking forward to, and I'm just going to go over my top 5 picks for what I think are the top 5 cards to look forward to in Burst of Destiny. So if you do enjoy this type of content, leave a like, subscribe. If you want to check out our Discord, link down below, and without further ado, let's get into this video. So before I get into my top 5, I actually want to start with an honorable mention, and it's actually going to be Abyss Keeper. Now, I'm going to leave what this card does in the description because I don't actually, this video is not going to run through an editing software, so I don't have a way to show you guys the card, but Abyss Keeper is a Link 2, and it's going to be amazing for fish. And if you look back a little bit on this channel about 8 months ago, I actually uploaded a Big Fish deck profile and a combo guide. And Big Fish is a really fun deck that revolves around Coelacanth, like Super Ancient Deep Sea King Coelacanth. If you don't know the name, he's the guy you can discard a card to special summon as many fish monsters from your deck as possible, which sounds absolutely amazing. And it's a really fun deck, and it can create some crazy boards. And this Abyss Keeper card is just going to breathe new life into this deck, in my opinion. Now, it's not going to bring it up several tiers, it's not going to be a meta-relevant strategy, in my opinion, but for those who want to have fun with big fish, this card is phenomenal. So, essentially the gist is, it's a fish monster, which is very relevant, and you can actually just special summon a fish in your hand to a zone he points to. I do believe it has to be to a zone he points to, and it doesn't negate his effects or anything. So this is a free way, because there's no level restriction, to summon Coelacanth from your hand, which is amazing. And Coelacanth's biggest weakness has always been hand traps, right? It's very hard to summon Coelacanth and put a fish monster next to him in the current way the deck is built. However, with Abyss Keeper being a fish, you can summon him, use his effect, and you're sort of immune to infinite impermanence and effect failure, because if you tribute a fish monster for his other effect, you can negate an effect that targets Coelacanth. And this is just going to make that deck so much more consistent. I believe it only takes 2 water monsters to make Abyss Keeper. I think that's the restriction. Again, full details will be in the description below. But yeah, this is such a cool card, and I wasn't expecting fish support in this set, because I believe he's a TCG exclusive as well, and this just came out of left field for me, but I'm super excited for it. I love Coelacanth as a card, and this is, again, just going to breathe new life into a deck that hasn't seen support since, I guess, Lifeless Leaf Fish, but that's not really support for him in my opinion. I don't know, it's going to be really cool to play around with it. But on to number 5, because that's a lot of talk for an honorable mention. Number 5 for me is actually going to be Trouble Sunny, Evil Twin Trouble Sunny. So I'm a twin player, so of course this card gets a little biased to make it in this list, but I do think twins are going to be one of the stronger strategies that get the most support from Burst of Destiny. And yeah, Trouble Sunny is the reason for that. And Trouble Sunny is such a fantastic card that really brings the twin strategy to such a higher level, really elevates what the deck can do as far as its ceiling. And yeah, it's just absolutely phenomenal. And because I'm always playing twin, I play twin a lot, it's a deck that can fit so many good cards into its deck because its engine is so small, and its extenders are starters, its starters are extenders, which is always just a broken combo. And yeah, while I'm playing the deck, there's always at least one point where I'm like, if I just had Trouble Sunny, this game would already be over, and Trouble Sunny is just so good for the deck, and I think it's a card you're really going to want to look out for. It is in the ultra rare slot, so a little easier to get than the secret rares, and it's a card if you're planning on playing the deck, you're definitely going to want to pick up. Or if you think it could be a good card to hold, maybe, possibly, but I think it will actually could be a pretty expensive ultra rare, maybe $20-ish. Depends on how popular twins see their play rate as, but I think it's really good. And then on to number 4. This isn't actually a specific card, but rather the Swordsoul archetype in general. It's really hard to just pinpoint which Swordsoul card I think is the one you should watch out for. It's really every card from the archetype. As far, at least in the secret rare slot, so Mo Yi and their level 8 Synchro, these are very, very important cards. If you pull one, definitely guaranteed to be worth something, so that's really nice. And if you're planning on building the deck, of course, definitely something you should look out for. But Swordsoul are probably the deck that's most hyped to have the most influence on our current meta. Personally, I don't think it'll be tier 1 out the gate, but with the upcoming ban list in January, who knows, that could change, and Swordsoul could become a very powerful strategy, so definitely an archetype you want to look out for. And then for number 3 is actually one of my favorite cards from the set, and that's going to be Small World. So Small World isn't a card that's going to be played in every deck, and it's a very confusing card to understand if you've never read it before. So if you don't know what Small World does, essentially you can reveal a monster in your hand, and then you banish a card in your deck that has exactly one matching attribute with the card, be it attack, defense, level, type, or actual attribute, and it can only match one. And then you link that card to another card in your deck that matches exactly one attribute to that card, and you add it to your hand. So it's a real read of a card right there. So once you understand it, it's really simple, but yeah, it's a really phenomenal card in certain strategies. I know one I'm really looking forward to use it in is Madolche, because it can turn almost anything into the starter you need. I think almost any Madolche can turn into any Madolche. There are a couple of exceptions, but I think it's going to be really powerful for that deck. And that's a deck that sometimes its starters don't work in certain situations. Like Petting Cessor, if you use like an Ash Blossom, isn't a starter anymore. And you can like swap it out for like a Hoot Cake, and that's really, really good. So yeah, that's going to be good for Madolche. I think Virtual World can also play it. Gren Maju, of course, are going to play it. I think every variant of Gren Maju can play it, the trap build and the 8-axis version. So Small World has a few decks it's going to be really good in. I'm sure you can leave down in the comments below what deck you want to use Small World in. It's essentially another starter for your deck, or it can search really unsearchable cards in other scenarios. It's one of the coolest cards I think they've printed in a long time. Unfortunate, in my opinion, that's in the secret rare slot. I don't think it had to be, but that's the way they wanted to do it. And yeah, I think it's going to be a fantastic card. So if you do have certain deck ideas with Small World, leave those down below. I'd be excited to read them. And going into number 2 on the list is going to be Lord of the Heavenly Prison, previously known as King of the Sky Prison. I think when Burst of Destiny was first coming out, he was by and large the most anticipated card initially. Of course, that changed once we get to number 1, but he's the card personally that I want to use the most because I'm a huge advocate of the Trap Tricks archetype. In fact, if you go on the older parts of the channel, it's probably the deck I have the most deck profiles of. Maybe not, but it's the deck I played for probably the longest on this channel consecutively. It's a deck I really enjoy playing, and this is a big, big boost for the deck. As well as other trap decks like Guru will want to play this, Altergeist will probably want to play this. But he's not only good in trap decks because he's good in trap decks because he can essentially nullify the effects of Harpy's Feather Duster, Lightning Storm, and protect your back row. But he can also set traps from your deck as well as be as a 3k beater. He does so much, and he can set starters for other decks. Like he can set things like Terraforming for your Guru deck. He just has a lot of things he can do. He's an Eradicator target, and you can set Eradicator. But yeah, another thing about Trap Tricks with him is essentially trap decks that can make rank 4s get a huge boost because you can search him with Gallant Granite because he's a rock. So Trap Tricks, instead of going for the regular Rafflesia play, can now go for like Sarah Gallant Granite and then search King of the Sky Prison, or Lord of the Heavenly Prison as his new name. And yeah, it just goes off from there, and that's really cool to me. I think he's just going to be one of the most game-changing cards generically for this set. Of course, then there's number 1, which isn't exactly a generic card, but let's get into him because he is generic. It's, of course, going to be Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer. I think no one is surprised by this. This is definitely a card you want to look out for. Probably going to be one of the most expensive cards on release, and some people recently are saying he's not as hype as people initially expected, which I really don't have the biggest opinion on. I think if he's really, really popular, then cool, and if he's not really popular, no sweat off my back. I mean, like, the deck I'm actually looking forward to playing him in the most is Trap Tricks, so he's not a card I'm particularly looking forward to, but he's a card for things like Phantom Knights that is phenomenal. He can be played in almost any deck. The Swordsoul deck likes to play him. I've seen some play him, some not. It was really popular a while ago, but it's kind of fallen off a little, and I've seen a lot of like pure 10E Swordsoul recently. But yeah, he's a phenomenal card that is so much follow-up, such a good interruption. And yeah, not Fusion Destiny. is it Fusion Destiny? I think it actually Fusion Destiny is their fusion spell, is so much better than Red Eye's Fusion, and the bricks you play are so much better than Dark Magician and Red Eye's Black Dragon, that even though Destroy Phoenix Enforcer is maybe a little weaker than Dragoon, the whole package actually has reason to be played over the Dragoon package. Of course, currently, while Dragoon is still legal in the TCG, I don't expect Destroy Phoenix Enforcer to be always the go-to, but I do expect in the January ban list, I'm hoping something happens to the Dragoon package. At this point, I don't think it'll be Verte because Destroy Phoenix Enforcer needs him for, or I mean, he doesn't need him, but he's really useful. And yeah, so Destroy Phoenix Enforcer, I think everyone expected to be number 1 on this list. I mean, he has been talked about for ages now, it feels like. He's so good, and definitely a card you want to have your eyes set on for the release of Burst of Destiny. So that's going to do it for this video. If you have your own ideas for what are really cool cards in this set, leave them down below. I'm sure everyone would love to see them. I would love to read and see all the cool cards you guys have plans with. But yeah, if you did enjoy the video, leave a like, subscribe. This has been Aaron from Top Tier Gaming. Bye, guys.